Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Closing Time Podcast. I am Kyle McCourt. I'm here with an awesome panel. I've actually not got to work with a lot of you in this instance, so I'm really excited to talk with a lot of you. We've talked quite a bit over your career. Yeah. But today you all have something in common that I don't, and it's you guys have made the jump from banking and security and just kind of, I don't want to say being given loans to some extent, but you guys kind of left a security situation to take control of your own businesses and jump into a situation where you had to learn a lot of new skills and everything. So today we're going to talk a lot about your journeys. I want to get to know all you guys and let everybody else get to know all you guys. So we'll get to know each other, kind of share some things that you've explored, and then talk about the challenges and, just be honest. Like, this is a transition that a lot of people struggle with. And as our market continues to change, I'm sure you guys have felt it. Independent mortgage banking does seem to be where a lot of people are starting to see growth. So I appreciate you guys all being here. We'll go around the room. I'm going to start with Ryan just to get the jitters out, man. Shake them off.
Shake them off.
So Ryan, tell me a little bit about yourself, how long you've been in, maybe, your background a little bit, and just kind of give us an overview.
Sure. So I've been in the mortgage industry since 2009. Started out doing just call center stuff with customer service. And then when, the economy crashed, refinance boom happened. I jumped right into the Obama refis, if you will, the HARP stuff.
Sure.
And I was a closer, so I got to see the back end side of things, working with a lot of title companies and stuff.
Is that how you got in the industry?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I got in the industry I was like a customer service rep for HELOCs.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you weren't even like in the origination side of things.
You
were just
customer care, and then jumped right into the refi side of things on the ops side, and then actually was in the 90-day layoff because refinance kind of dried up a little bit, and then rates dropped, and they needed salespeople. So I jumped right into the sales role, just doing refinances, worked my way up to purchase. And then I got promoted to corporate relocation at the bank, and then and then I ended up leaving, coming here after meeting Daniel. We lived in the same building at the time, so I met Daniel.
Oh, no kidding! So just kind of happenstance.
Just kind of happened, and it was kind of writing was on the wall for a minute, but I don't know. I just felt like it just felt right, if that makes sense.
Yeah, right timing. So many moves that we make in our careers is just kind of dumb luck, right place, right time.
Right.
So 2009, you got into the industry. Tell me, when did you get your 90-day layoff? When were you starting to originate?
I would say that was like 2012.
Okay. So it would have been like 10 years of origination before you got to NFM.
Yep.
So that's a big.
Yeah.
That's 10 years of all you've known and everything.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Going from refinance to purchase and then to the corporate relocation, which was where, we would work with companies that moved families from, say, like ExxonMobil was a big one.
Yeah.
Montana to Texas to headquarters, or Korea to Texas, like wherever they moved them, we helped them do their loans. So there's a lot of pressure, if you will. Customer service was like, you don't mess that up.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm interested to talk a little bit more because it's like a completely polar opposite world in our world now. So we'll save that.
For sure.
Richard, go ahead, my friend.
Yeah. Hey, Kyle. Thanks for having me. Working on 2 years at NFM. So it's been great so far. But before NFM, I was at a larger bank. I started there in 2020. And I'm going to piggyback off Ryan. It's kind of funny how like these big worldly events bring out the loan officers, right? So like COVID happened. I was a finance manager at a car dealership.
Okay.
COVID happened and they shut down the car dealership for 3 months actually. And a guy I knew was working at this large bank, and they were like, "Hey, rates are at historical lows, and we basically just need someone to answer the phone, right? And you'll get paid." So that's where I started, right in the smack dab middle of COVID.
Baptism by fire, right there. Yeah.
I never even went into an office or anything. They actually just like shipped my phone and my computer right to my house. No training, no nothing. And I just hopped on that phone. And I remember when I first started, I was like walking downstairs at like 8 o'clock to my wife, like, my head hurts. I'm scared.
Yeah, like what the hell was even going on? Yeah.
And it was just like, baptism by fire, right?
Yeah. So coming in 2020, you guys experienced totally different. Like everything's crashing down at your time. Everything's kind of crashing down, but accelerating at that time. So Now, were you generating leads while you were there, or was it just all refi business and then you jumped to purchase on this side? Is that kind of
Well, I was doing a little bit of a mix, but it was more purchase actually. I
Okay.
started out doing purchase, and I would just take overflow refis when I had to. But I've typically, since 2020, always done purchase.
okay? Awesome.
Yep.
All right. Thank you very much. Sebastian, tell me,
Yes, sir.
because you had a couple transitions before getting here.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about big bank, little bank, retail, essentially.
Yeah. So my career in general, like I never in my life thought I was going to be in mortgage lending, but I don't think anyone necessarily wakes up and dreams to be in this industry, and then we find ourselves here and we love it, most of us,
Yeah.
right? But so I honestly, so my kind of transition in general was caused by that I moved over here from Sweden to play golf. So I played golf in college, played a little professional golf, and then I had no idea what to do with my life. So I came to Columbus with no plans whatsoever. And one of my really good friends, he worked for a big bank and essentially said, hey, you should come and work for us.
Yeah.
And I said, I need to pay my bills. So that sounds great. And so that's really how I started in the banking world. And I ended up being a branch manager for one of the local branches. And then lending was one of the things that made me excited, I guess, about banking in general. So I started they call it the loan champion. So I got to control like the home equity lines and the in-house portfolio refinances.
Kind of like the introductory stuff. Okay.
Yeah. So that's really how I got into lending a long, long time ago, which is really not that long ago compared to, some of you guys.
You're
but
the oldest NMLS
Yeah.
in here. So
the old man in the office
Yeah,
too.
that's fair. That's
But I think that was about 7-8 years ago when I started that. But really, like that was my introduction to lending, and then I made the jump from big bank to small bank, and that's when I started to focus on purchase. With really no experience whatsoever on purchase because I'd only done refi.
when was that in your career? Like, help me understand.
2021,
Okay. All right.
I believe.
Okay.
But yeah, so I had no like realtor connections, no nothing, and like just one morning, I guess, woke up and said, "Let's do it."
Yeah.
And obviously, kind of like you mentioned, trial by fire a little bit. Like there's very little training, I think, in mortgage in general, most places, especially banks, at least.
Yeah.
So just read a lot of guidelines and spent a lot of hours at night trying to self-teach myself because I'm a perfectionist at a fault. So
Yeah. And I think that's something a lot of us here have in common. Did you guys find that consistent? Like, you guys didn't have a lot of infrastructure on training where you were at?
zero, none.
Yeah. Your guys' this makes a little more sense from a timeline standpoint, but I mean, yours, I guess, still, kind of the collapse and stuff.
Just sit and I would, dial in with someone else's phone and just listen to them just do phone calls.
Yeah.
And look up guidelines and this, that, and the other. It was, absolutely. It was tough.
Yeah. Ironically,
No
pride,
scripting.
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. It was just like, hey, this guy does it this way. This guy does it this way. This guy does it this way. They all do it a little different. They all do pretty well. But yeah, it's completely different than, coming here where you actually have scripting and
structure.
and structure. Oh yeah, lots of structure, which is good.
Yeah. And I guess obviously you guys didn't really know that coming in. Like, obviously you hear all these things and you get sold everything when you're getting recruited and everything. I guess talk to me about the challenges that made you consider, maybe not make the move, but what opened the door for you guys to kind of say, maybe I do want to go this route where I have a little bit more control. We'll go reverse order here. So
For me, I think more than anything, it was just having control. Again, as a self-proclaimed control freak that hates to not have control in an industry where you have very little control a lot of the time, like me, you're dependent on title companies and appraisals and underwriting and processing and all these things, right? So why I choose this career, I have no idea. But that was my biggest thing, to be able to have a direct phone number to an underwriter and be able to work together and having your processor actually work with you rather than against you. And it's like you're building your little empire almost, right?
Yeah.
Compared to being a tiny, tiny little piece in a big bank's empire.
do you feel like you have more input in your structure, like personally?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
No, I feel like it's just a different camaraderie, especially when you're working in the same office too, that you can go out and like, it's not all business. You can go out and be making a joke or whatever and like showing a little bit more personality and being an individual rather than, again, like with a big bank, you're
A number.
You're-
Yeah, number. Yeah, I
number.
mean, literally, right? Like
Right.
if you're producing, then your number is a little bit more important, I guess. But like
It's
you're
a little
still a
bigger.
number.
It's a little
Yeah.
bigger. Yeah.
Like you're still a tiny fish in a big ocean.
Right.
And NFM is obviously a massive company. Don't get me wrong, but like I feel at least more of a, I guess, individual with value.
Yeah.
And I hope and think that no matter what you're producing, that's kind of the feeling that most people have.
Yeah.
And then you have the tools and options to again build and like do whatever you want to. Like not everyone wants to be a super high producer, and that's okay. But
Yeah.
like you can if you want to.
Yeah. Richard, how about you? What was the thing that kind of started making you consider other options? Because you came in when it was boom time. So
Sure.
was it the volume or was it just kind of like, hey, there has to be? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna piggyback a little bit off of Sebastian here. Is I always felt like when I was dealing with a client that they like chose me for one of the largest purchases they'll make, and a lot of time their lifetime, right? So I always took it personally, right, when I was dealing with a client, and I found that in my experience with the big bank and now with NFM, like I always remember thinking during my time at at my previous jobs, like it can't be this hard, right? Like it can't be this difficult to approve a loan. There's all these overlays and all these different issues that you like. I was oblivious to it at my previous job. I didn't know any other way, but I always remember thinking like it cannot be this difficult. And I'm, remember, letting a specific client down that I had a good relationship with, and I just thought to myself like, I need to go somewhere where I have more control, right? Where when someone chooses me to originate their loan, I'm going to get the job done. And if I don't get the job done, it's on me, right? And at that point, I'll own it. But it was hard for me at my previous job to be like, call a client and be like, hey, this is going wrong. And hey, guess what? I also can't fix it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
I'm fixing it.
it sounds like as you were growing, you kind of came to the realization like, hey, there has to be more to this and everything. Was it that specific client that kind of was like, okay, hey, maybe I do need to look at this? Or were you like reaching out to other people? What was your exploration like as you were kind of making those considerations?
It was like death by 1,000 cuts, right? But that was the big one.
Sure.
So that made me, consider it. And then it was actually easy. I'll bring Colopy into this. I remember when I started to think about leaving, they were like, hey, we know a guy that used to do what you did who now is at NFM, and he's crushing it. So maybe talk to him. And, from there, it all worked out. So.
Well, let's talk to him because
Here I am.
you started like 3 months after me. And when they were recruiting you, they asked me to talk to you.
Yeah, I
And
remember
like,
that.
I was like, who the fuck am I to even talk to somebody about this? So first of all, tell me about what opened up your mind to even leaving, because you're
Yeah.
10-ish years into your career at that point.
Right.
What does that look like for you?
So mine's very, I would say, very different than theirs. I was in a really good spot.
Yeah.
Right. I was
Kind of cakey
in
a little bit.
the cakey job,
Yeah.
yeah, if you will. So I was in the corporate relocation world, and I think I was in like the top 10 3 years in a row in the department, and I just felt like, what's next?
Yeah.
Right. Like I feel like I've kind of got to the ceiling here. The next step up is getting into management, and that's from an income perspective, not a step back, right?
Right.
So you're like kind of taking a step back to.
It's so weird in our industry,
It
isn't
is.
it? Yeah.
It is. So, and I just had kind of thought about like just kind of starting my own thing, and then again, miraculously, just ran into Daniel at our pool at Park's Edge. Just started drinking wine with him and shooting the bull, right?
That's the death knell right there. Yep. Yep.
About the industry, and then he's like, hey, we should talk again. Give me your email. So I sent him my email, and then kind of blew him off. Ran into him again at the pool.
Yep.
Similar thing, and then and I guess what was going on in the background is I'm sitting here talking to my wife, just like bitching about, God, I gotta start my thing. I gotta start my own thing. And finally, after talking to Daniel the second time, she's like, I'm done with your bitching. Either do it or don't.
Here's your
Yeah,
opportunity,
do it or don't.
right.
I don't want to hear it anymore.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, that was just kind of like the little nudge I needed, I
Yeah.
felt like. And yeah.
Well, it's a big decision when you make. So like
Yeah.
that jump I can relate to because I was in a cushy spot. I was with a builder.
Yeah. You're right.
I don't
right.
have to go to everybody's coming to me.
Right.
And I'm talking to my wife through COVID, like, I hate this. Like I'm calling people and canceling and taking them back. So Was this something that you knew you were going to do and you just needed to hear her say it?
Maybe in the back of my mind, I knew that it was like, and plus it's very, very uncomfortable. It's very, you're kind
It's
of
her
just-
life too at that point. Yeah.
And I guess, leap of faith and said, you know what, one thing I control is like how hard I work, right? And work hard. And I did at Chase, and that's how I guess I got to being here, right? To being recruited and everything. So, but yeah, it was tough. It was tough.
So take me through, because I was not recruited by Daniel. I don't know that any of us were lucky enough to be recruited by Daniel.
Yeah.
What does that second conversation? First one, obviously, we know we're just kind of, but like when it becomes serious, what was that thing that kind of ticked that you were like, okay, hey, my wife just said this. He said this today. Like, what was that thing that you were like, okay, this might be the right spot?
Well, he invited me up to his unit at Parks Edge, and we're just sitting there hanging out on his couch, just talking about mortgages, which is like, people are like, wow, that happens. But yeah, we were just talking about mortgages, and then all of a sudden, like, he goes over to his office, comes back, and he's got a notepad, and he starts asking me questions. I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting interviewed right now. I thought we were just shooting the bull, right?
Yeah.
And then, he basically sells what, and he gives Andy Beigel's story, and which is amazing, and shows me and pulls up his numbers, and I'm like, oh wow, and he pulls up my numbers, and I'm like, oh wow, you can see that?
Yeah.
That's a thing. And and I was like, okay, this is something.
Yeah.
And then I went back down, and that's when me and the wife had the real conversation.
Yeah.
And I did it.
So was this 6 months? Was this a year?
Yeah, 6 months. for
Okay,
sure.
so
we're talking like, me meeting him in maybe the early summer, and then this kind of happening.
Yeah.
Maybe in the fall, actually.
Yeah, it was right. I think we talked in like July or something, and then they onboarded you. I was like, all right, that guy was cool. So I'm happy. How long for you? Like, what was that recruitment process look like?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was probably a little shorter for me.
You kind of had the wheels greased a little bit.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it just seemed like a no-brainer to me because, I mean, they did the same thing to me. They were like, hey, here's what you did last year, and this is how much you would have made if you would originate this at, NFM and stuff. And it was almost like, Alex Thompson took me out to his golf course and beat me in golf, and I was just like, all right, I'm in.
It's how you know you're in.
Exactly.
Too. Yeah.
Alex will do that to people. He'll beat you.
Oh, I know.
Beat you into submission.
Almost, yeah.
Well, the
This
hole
is
in
why he
ones.
hasn't played me yet. Like
Yeah,
I've
yeah, right.
asked.
Yeah.
I think he's strategically avoiding that.
Staying away from it.
He likes to win, so he might be a little nervy.
Yeah. Has he played Todd?
He has Todd. I don't know if he's beat Todd like
Really?
head to head yet. I think Todd's
That's why he's
got
got to
his
beat
number.
Todd before he gets to
Yeah,
Sebastian.
it's like
That's what-
leveling
yeah,
up.
Yeah, right.
That's
You're-
fair.
you're
That's fair.
the top.
The final boss.
Yeah, right, exactly. Sebastian, your recruitment was a little different.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, there's some things that we're not going to get into, but it was a longer period, and it was almost more of, from what I understand, a friendship. So tell me a little bit about that process with you.
Yeah. So honestly, it's a kind of a fun story. I'll make it short.
We got
But
time.
we do, but this is like a 2 hour long story.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I'll
Okay,
keep
all right.
it.
Yeah, yeah,
I'll try to
definitely.
keep it in like at least 2 minutes. But so Andy had actually reached out to me via Instagram, and that was how that recruiting started. And I quite literally looked at his picture and I was like, wow, he looks slimy. So yeah,
Please post that. Please post that.
I've told him and Les
Oh,
that many
I love
times, so
it.
this is not
I
a surprise.
love
But so like me and Sarah, my soon-to-be wife, we looked at this and I was like, okay, well, I'll go and chat with him because whatever, like, what do I have to lose here? And he just turned out to be the best guy ever. Like I mean, at this point, you know, you'll have to ask him if the feelings are mutual, but he's one of my best friends at least. So it kind of grew generically a little bit that way. Like it was a recruiting. For him, it was definitely a recruiting to start with, right?
Sure.
And he kind of painted the picture. And like, honestly, I just wasn't interested because I was cozy and like business was growing. And for like the first 4 years, I've pretty much doubled my business every single year. So like, why would I go somewhere else when like,
What you're doing is
yeah,
obviously
exactly
working.
right. So it kind of grew, but then like we became friends more so over time, and then I was like, okay, like why am I not working with my best friends? Like where I was at before, like there were definitely friendships there too, but it was very individual. Like it wasn't a team feeling at all. And like at some point, I think we all, I mean, I played sports my whole life, right? And like you're kind of craving like the competition, like internally, but also like doing it with friends and like feeling like-
Camaraderie.
yeah. So that was a big thing that pulled me in the end of the day.
Yeah.
And then again, being able to like work with, Andy and Les, and I knew Ryan Kwame,
Yeah. Ryan's good, dude. Yeah.
Cave Menace,
Yeah.
as Sarah calls him. So like that was really what kind of pulled me in more than anything, honestly. And then like I was very happily surprised of like how good it turned out to be, I guess, if that makes sense.
No, and honestly, I think that's something a lot of us feel. I think Andy and Leslie do a really good job, not to blow Andy's ego up, but they do a really good job of creating that camaraderie. And I think they do a good job of leading that for our entire division. You mentioned how pleasantly surprised you were. Talk about the transition, like actually coming over and everything. What did that look like?
I mean, for me, it was a little chaotic because it wasn't super planned. It kind of like spur of the moment a little bit. But just the technology more than anything, I think, for me, like seeing what you can do, because we used the same loan program where I was at before that I'm at right now.
Yep.
NFM.
Yeah.
Shocker.
Yeah.
So like that in itself was super easy to like turn into, but like just how it's used was so wildly different to me. I was like, oh, you can do these things, or like you have these options.
Talking about Encompass, like the build out in Encompass.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or just like how to help clients or how to help your realtors get clients into contract with certain like aspects of Encompass that like I had no idea you could do.
Oh, yeah.
So that was really, really cool and like helped my business grow even more, right? Or like help realtors grow their business, which is important too.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was, again, same loan program helped a lot. So like it was pretty smooth and like, everyone there is so friendly. So it's very, very easy to get to be a part of the team.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, Andy's team, I mean, every single person there is just like a golden nugget of a human. Like it's so easy to talk to. And
I feel like I'm family when I go over to Andy's branch.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same with Daniel, obviously. His branch is just a lot bigger.
yeah.
So the support and everything, that makes it easier to ask questions. And you mentioned the ability to reach out. Being new, and please, guys, take over. Being new, like the transition, what was that support like, not just from the people recruiting you, but from the company? Like, what was that experience like coming over, moving your business, and things like that?
Well, I want to kind of jump in with what you said about just the team. I mean, I also talked to Andy when I got like recruited or whatever. Me and him talked for like an hour, and it seemed like 15 minutes. Like we just meshed, if you will. And I remember when I came over from the old environment I was in, it was like, I want to be the best. Like I want to be number one. I don't want to see others do well.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the culture. And I come over to to NFM, and it's just like everybody wants everybody to kill it.
Yeah.
And everybody wants everybody to grow. And I mean, I sit in on Andy's meetings like at 9:30 on Tuesdays, and I mean, he just lets me in. I get like the free admission, if you will. I don't have to be in the branch or anything, just like, but that's that though. Like that's what
culture.
I love about the culture. Yeah. Is that like, it's like you just get access to all this free learning and constantly changing learning. And the technology, again, like with what you were saying is really cool. I remember being able to text Daniel at like 9 p.m. saying, hey, it would be cool if we like could do this income thing on our initial application. Just thinking, he's going to be like, why is he messaging me at night? And then come to find out, like that actually set home with him. And then now that's part of our process.
Yeah.
It's like where I was at before, it was just like, don't really necessarily go above your manager. Where here, it's just like an open book. How do we make our process better?
Yeah.
So,
I just think that one thing Ryan said is like the brand, like the NFM brand, is like bigger than the individual, which I love, right? We're all fighting to elevate the NFM brand in all of our markets. And it carries weight, right? When you're dealing with a multiple offer situation, to call the listing agent and be like, hey, I work for NFM. And they're like, oh, great. You know what I mean?
They know
and And everyone's protecting that.
Yeah.
I think that's special.
I really like that you said that, because I think that is something, especially like I'm out of your guys' markets for the most part, but I carry that weight of like being part of something bigger and like protecting it for people that are trying to grow businesses and everything. You mentioned kind of like the technology and the open book and the collaboration. Do you guys feel like that's been part of your success in growing your business? Because like you did well beforehand. You were obviously in a cushy job. You've been exposed to purchase. Like, do you feel like the atmosphere is one of the things that has helped you guys get to where you are at now and where you guys are going?
I think for me, we're kind of blessed in a way that we have a handful of individual or teams that are doing incredibly well and that are very like close together, right? You obviously have Daniel and Andy and Mario. And it's fun to compete. So for me, that is honestly like selfishly probably the biggest carrot, I guess, or whatever for me to improve or like increase my business is that I want to beat them.
Yeah.
But it's such a friendly competition. It's not, to your point, right? Like we all want each other to succeed. So like there was a point when I thought I was going to beat Andy like a month ago, and then I get a message that essentially just like, haha, and it's beating me. Like,
Not so fast, my friend.
Yeah, but I love that. Like I love that part of the competitive friendliness, right? Because that is not a thing that you see in this industry in general, I think. And we have it. So that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
So I think for me, that's honest. I mean, the technology is great. Don't get me wrong. Like that's helping too. The educational part. Like I thought you were on our team since like day one until like a month ago. I had no idea that you weren't on our team, honestly. So that's news to me. But but yeah, just the camaraderie. But like, yeah, the competitive friendliness is what's really helping me, I think, want to do more every month. And like mornings, we all have them when we wake up and we're like, I don't want to do loans today.
Yeah.
But then like you look at someone
Metrics
like that,
come
and you're
out.
like, exactly.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, here we go. Now I
Right.
got to go on my
How did
chase.
Sebastian get one more ahead of me?
Yes.
What the heck? Well, and I think it's unique too, because if you ask what they're doing that's working too, they're very quick to share it, you know? So how about you, Richard? Like coming in, you're Daniel's branch and everything.
Sure.
Talk about the collaboration, because like you've reached out to me and like we've had great conversations. Is it like that throughout? Do you feel like that's been a key to your, because you've grown very quickly since coming over?
Yeah. I mean, when I have Alex Thompson on speed dial, so I think he probably winces every time I buzz in. But for me, it's less about the technology. I mean, don't get me wrong, the technology is great, but and it's more about having like these lifelines, right? Like for example, you, Kyle. We're not on the same team. This is the first time I've ever really met you in actual person.
Yeah, I think so.
And I reached out to someone on the team and was like, hey, VA loan question, who do I reach out to? They're like, Kyle. And I'm like, is he gonna
That
be
was
mad?
me, I think.
Yeah. I'm like, all right, I'm
gonna
gonna message him and call him and see how it goes. And you were like, just amazing.
Amen.
And it's just like that with everyone, right?
Yeah.
Like, everyone has their niches and everyone knows a lot. And it's nice when I know that there's an open door. Like, hey, I'm gonna call you. I only need 3 minutes, answer this question, and I'm right back on it in the game.
And we're all in the same business of closing loans. Like, I think that's really where it comes from. And to your point, even if I couldn't have answered, if you texted the group chat, somebody in there is going to be able to hop on it and everything.
100%.
I don't want this to turn into like a commercial, because like we're obviously talking about great things here.
Sure.
Share some challenges. What was harder than expected coming over? Because like you're learning to generate business, you're learning to scale, and you're kind of coming in cold, just building relationships and everything. So take me through. Let's start, because you're coming in,
Yeah.
I mean, kind of like me. So like,
Right.
what was the biggest challenge starting off in the retail space from coming from the security of banking?
Aside from learning Encompass, which was, we
Fair.
went from like a DOS-based system where we didn't even have to use the mouse. It's just, just typed, that was, once I got that down, then I'm like, all right, here we go. And then get the phone on. I'm like, all right, where's the beeping? Like,
Yeah.
where's the loan leads
Yeah.
coming in? So that was the challenge, was like getting the leads to come in. I guess I didn't really have a network of real estate agents, financial advisors, people like that. So I had to kind of go out and learn that side of the business, if you will, in terms of like, getting referrals and whatnot. And then I also had like I don't know the wording on this, but like where I had come from, there was kind of a bad connotation from the real estate agent environment.
Sure. Hey, questionable reputation.
So it's like, when I feel like that's just for loan officers in general, and I come to NFN, I'm like, oh wait, no, that's not. Like, they actually like me.
Kind of getting over that stereotype that you carry.
Happy hour.
Yeah.
Like, this is kind of cool. Like,
Sure.
and and I kind of getting over that exactly what you just said was something. But then just making the phone ring.
Yeah.
Because I knew how to do the loans really well. Just making the
That's
phone
the
ring.
hard. Did they tell you that too? You know the hard part. You know how to close loans. That's what they always told me. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I would get in. I'm like, the hard part's cold calling, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you know, but that's what it is.
Sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks. Rejection sucks.
Yeah.
People not following through and showing up for meetings sucks. after you got yourself all hyped
Yeah.
up that I finally got one.
Being a 10-year veteran and coming in, and Ryan, you started from ground zero, like no relationships. How do you check your ego at the door and come in when those things happen, when people aren't showing up to things and you're like, well, what am I supposed to do? What does that conversation look like internally? And was there anybody that helped you with that here?
Well, there was always help, but I would say, and Andy was a big help. Like I would go and just kind of have like one-on-ones with him. Daniel also.
Yeah.
It was me and another person, Danny Albright, and we would go and we would do our like little trainings with Daniel. But it was tough. It was just like, you know what? It's I got to get comfortable being uncomfortable because cold calling is not at all comfortable. I never had even really done it before.
Right.
So just starting off doing that, and then once we started getting some deals in the pipeline, then it's like, okay, well now I have a reason to talk to this listing agent.
Makes it a lot
And
easier to
makes
make
it
that phone
easier,
call.
right? It's no longer a cold call. It's like I have to tell them that the appraisal came in. Right. So then just being able to be genuine and build relationships, I think was tough. But now it's like, okay, now I feel like it's just kind of rolling now.
Yeah.
Because I got so many new friends, new relationships.
And you're confident within your business too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Richard, I want to shift because obviously purchase, but kind of learning the generation. And you were in car sales, so a lot of, quick, got to be on your feet.
Yep.
What were the challenges you faced? Were they similar? And did you feel supported in your trial to find stability?
I think my biggest challenge was going from a position where, I knew roughly what I would make every month. And it was enough to meet,
Pay your
my
bills.
bills, et cetera. To coming over to the retail space where, all the guys that are on the other side of the fence and more like call centers, they all say the same thing. Like I remember when I took the job at NFM, I have a buddy and, he literally was like, good luck. I'll probably see you again in 6 months. It was like one of those things where like people on the other side of the fence in the call center in today's age, I don't know if it was the same when you were at your place or back in the day, but they all seem like you're not going to make it over there. There's no way. It's too hard, right? There's already too many big players, that was nervy, right? And I got in and you make the first few calls and it's just like, hello, this is what click. It's like, all right, well, maybe this wasn't the best decision, right? But, I think I just kept thinking about like, not to sound like conceited, but like, you look around at like some of the top producers and it's like, they did it. So like, what about it? Like, what about me? What is it about me that I can't, right? So then you kind of swallow your pride and you're just like, let's go.
I love that. I whenever you're looking around, you always see people, like you said, that are in spots that you feel like, oh, okay, I could do that. One of my favorite quotes is, so many people dumber than you make more than you because they're not smart enough to doubt themselves. And like, that's the guiltiness or the guilt of being an overthinker always comes with that.
Yeah,
So
I love that.
kind of facing those and like having those hardships, did you have somebody that you could go to? Did you feel supported and like learning and kind of going through those? Or did you feel kind of isolated as you're kind of building your business and figuring it out?
Well, it was almost like when I would come home from work, I had like 3 little boys looking at me and a wife, and they're like, "Hey, Dad." I'm like, "All right." That was like all the fire
That's
I
it.
needed, really.
Yeah.
You know, that
Yeah.
was it. It was just like one of those things where it's like they're counting on me. You know what I mean? So that was every ounce of motivation I needed. And I made Daniel a promise when I came over to NFM. I told him that I was going to get into a certain percentage, top percentage of LOs. I'm not going to say the percentage, but I told him within 2 years, and he wrote it down.
Of course.
And he texted me about it a few months ago, actually, and said, "I think you're pacing," and he's going to hold it. He's going to hold me to it. So.
Oh yeah. I do not doubt that. So let's shift a little bit because I love this because all your stories are different. So same places-ish, but so Sebastian, big bank, not generating, little bank, building from scratch essentially. What was the hardest part transitioning to the retail side? Like you kind of came in with relationships and everything. So what were the challenges you faced and how did you overcome them? What was here to help you do that?
So, I mean, a lot, honestly. I think my biggest challenge personally was just meshing with people because I do I think I run my business a little bit different than a lot of people, where I don't have a team. I do it myself, and there are pros and cons, I think, with that.
Sure.
Where I'm a little bit more neurotic about like how I want things done. I think
Control freak. Yeah.
correct.
Yep.
And so some people work really well with that, and some people may not. And it's not like a micromanagement by any means, but like you want things done at a certain time and all
Sure.
that kind of stuff. And I think that's tough when you come in as a complete newbie and like you don't know people, and people look at you and like, who's this guy that's trying to like tell me what to do, right?
Yep.
But so trying to like build those relationships, honestly, I think was the biggest part, and like trying to be mindful of like understanding how people work, and like them honestly understanding how I work too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That, and then coming from a small bank to a big organization that NFM is, I think that was a challenge of making sure that every single partner that I work with as well is not like, okay, so like what's going to change?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of time when you do change from one organization to another, like they're expecting things to change, right?
Sure.
They're expecting like, okay, so like now am I going to talk to someone else and not you? Or like, are you going to change how you're doing business?
Right.
So having those conversations and really making sure that all my partners understood that nothing's really changing with who you're talking to or like how we're working. It's just going to get better.
Yep.
And then obviously proving that too, right? Making sure that files do close on time and it's
Proof is
super
in the
smooth.
pudding.
And yeah. So that was the biggest challenge, I think, on my end. I don't think anything else was really that much because I didn't have to learn Encompass. I didn't have to necessarily bring like people over and like getting them like on board. It was just me, myself, and I for
Yeah.
the most part. So
Just had to get everybody comfortable with the new process and everything.
yeah. So I guess I was blessed and lucky in a way
Okay.
that like it really wasn't that big of a thing. And then having known Annie and Les for years and having known Ryan and Anna for years, essentially, like it was already kind of like a family. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like the hardest part of your transition was actually making the choice
Yes,
to transition.
yeah.
Right.
No, it really was. Like it's so true. And I know that's completely different from most people. Like mine was easy in that way. And like I didn't lose any business. If anything, I started to grow right away. So like
Yeah.
it was super easy in that way.
Yeah.
Again, just learning the people and learning, the
The
closers
workflows and
like, who
everything.
my
Yeah.
underwriters were and what they're looking for, because obviously it looked a little bit different for like every single company where
Yeah.
you're working. So
I want to shift back a little bit because you guys, again, built from nothing and have done a really good job. How long, and it's okay if you don't feel this yet, but how long before your businesses felt stable? Because like you guys are coming from stability, like guaranteed income. Now, especially with kids, I obviously relate to that. Do you feel like your business is stable where like, okay, hey, I don't really need to worry? Or like when did that happen? Or when do you feel it happening?
I would say, so I'm year 4 this year, probably a year and a half until I felt like, okay, I know
Here's my floor.
what to do. I know like who to talk to. I know like who to reach out to. Yeah, it's about a year and a half.
Okay. Richard?
Well, I'll give you the background. I'm a pretty anxious guy. So
So you might not ever
I
feel
don't know.
that way. Right. Yeah.
Stability. What
Yeah.
is that?
What the hell is that? Yeah.
David Orocho made a comment in one of the videos I was watching him speaking, and he said, you're only as good as your last loan, right? And for me, that kind of like triggered like a thought in my head and was just like, is my business that unstable? No. But yeah, I mean, I think I'm starting to turn the corner.
Yeah.
I feel comfortable enough now, but I'm not going to say that it feels fully stable at this moment, but it's getting there.
Yeah.
And I just feel I keep telling myself, keep doing the right things, keep working hard and it'll
All in the
work
process,
out.
right?
Yeah.
The process.
All in the process.
The process.
So
that's
you-
kind of the charm of mortgage too. Like there is
Yeah.
no stability. Like
Yeah,
you never know
right.
what's going to
Yeah.
really happen,
You could
right?
be great, or you could,
Yeah.
be eating ramen noodles for
Sure.
a month. You mentioned something earlier, like a lot of people kind of cast a doubt in your decision. Being where you're at now, was it as hard as they said it was going to be? And do you regret making the jump to that position?
I think it probably was as hard because it was a cold 6 months, right?
Yeah.
And as an anxious person, like I mentioned before, it was a scary 6 months, right? As far as the weight, I mean, I think that was probably the hardest part. I don't regret it at all.
Yeah.
It was probably the best decision I've ever made. It was an incredible blessing. I spend more time with my kids now, spend more time with my family. And then the one thing that I love the most about the switch to more like retail is you can kind of engrave yourself within the community, right? So like at a big bank, that's not happening, right? Because, some of your customers are in Texas and you never know, right? And, like, for example, I closed a loan about a month or two ago. And this Friday, the client is having housewarming party because he redid the basement, redid the whole house. It's taken him 45 days. He's super proud of it. And he invited me, and I'm just going to show up with a bottle of bourbon. And it's just like 5 minutes from my house. And I'm sure that me and, this customer will have a relationship. And, when we see each other out in the area until the end of time. So I think that's special.
I love that. Yeah. I sponsored a little league baseball team this year for the first time. And that, to your point, that's one thing I really feel pride in is this is our business. I don't know if you guys feel that way, but we get to call ourselves entrepreneurs because we're responsible for it. So thank you for sharing that. That was awesome. I want to talk a little bit about advantages because we're getting close on time. So what do you think is the biggest advantage with being with the NFM specifically? And, be cheesy because you hear a lot of things. Don't oversell something, but be honest with what has been the most impactful difference at NFM versus where you came from or what you hear from other competitors. There's a lot of things that and I'll say it on record, that we do that other people don't. So what do you think is the number one thing? And if somebody steals yours, you got to pick a different one. So I'll let Ryan go first.
I don't know if this is an answer to the question, but one thing that I guess that really kind of blew me away is that I could teach somebody something. And, where I was before, it was here's a closing cost worksheet. That's that. Now I get to actually build a mortgage coach, which has 3 or 4 different loan options. It has different cash to closes, different interest rates, different payments. I get to talk to them about the interest rate market, all these different things. And educate them because it's so funny. I see people come into my office stiff as a board, scared, and then by the time they're leaving, they're so you can just tell they're relaxed, they're laughing, they're excited about about going out and buying something because I was able to educate them and let them know that it's not scary. It's fun.
Yeah, that's huge for me. That's one of my favorite things. Richard.
I think it's the access to more nichier products. At my previous job, I remember specifically. I had a client call me and was like, hey, I'm not going to go with you. And I'm like, why? What do what'd I do? And she's like, nothing, you've been great. But, this other lender who's local to my area is offering me down payment assistance. They're going to cover my whole entire down payment. And I remember specifically almost laughing at not almost being they're lying.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah.
That is not a real thing, right?
Yeah.
Why would it? And then, she's like, yeah, I mean, it's true. There's no this and that. And I'm like, I remember asking my buddy, I'm like, can you believe this client? Are you serious? Yeah. And then I come over to NFM and I'm like, I was the idiot. It's not a thing in that world, and it's just being able to help people who actually need it, right? At the big bank, I think that a lot of the times you're dealing with customers who don't necessarily need that much assistance, right? They come to you, they got $500,000 in savings, and they make $500,000 a year, and they're like, "Hey, here's my ID. Don't ask me for anything else, right? What I mean? Just write this up, and let's get it closed." In my role now, it's amazing that I'm actually helping people achieve the dream of homeownership, and that's what makes it great.
Yeah. You guys had somebody cry at closing yet?
Yes.
That's great,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
I get teary eyed.
Yeah. No, it's
challenges, or I'm sorry, competitive advantage.
Yeah. Honestly, I think the biggest thing that I've seen is that this whole team, from processing to junior underwriting to management underwriting, it's a group that wants to close loans. And I think that's rare. I think a lot of the time you have people finding excuses to not close a loan, especially in underwriting, obviously, rather than a team that's coming together to close loans. Yeah. And I think that's a huge advantage to be on a team where everyone wants to work towards the same goal. Because I understand what an underwriter's job is to make sure, obviously, that there's like protection there. And I'm not saying that we're not doing that. Like,
Right.
you have to make sure that someone qualifies, that we're doing it the right way. But there's usually a solution to the problem if you really want to find it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of other places, they just don't want to find it. And here, I've noticed it many, many times. We're doing everything to find a solution, which is a massive like benefit.
Saying how can we get the loan done versus we can't do the loan.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think that's been my mentality from day one in lending, that if you have a client that comes in with maybe poor credit or no savings, so you can't do down payment assistance, whatever, it's never no, it's not now.
Yeah.
And then you build them up and then you close them 6 months later, a year later, whenever you can do it, right? And that mentality, I think, is throughout the company, which helps a ton.
Yeah. I would agree.
Goes back to the brand conversation, right? Like no one like he's saying, like at other companies, I feel like the underwriters are fighting you, right? Not fighting with you, right? No one wants to see this thing ship. We're all on the ship, right?
Yeah.
You know, like in the, you know, I felt like in my previous job, it was like, I'm out here on a lifeboat, right? And like the underwriting team's throwing needles at me, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you know, so it's huge.
You said death by 1,000 cuts earlier,
Right.
and I feel like that can be underwriting a lot because, like in my previous life as well, you'd submit what they'd ask for, and they'd be like, "Oh, but now we need this," because they didn't underwrite the full loan, they didn't do whatever, and they're piecemealing it. And having a team, to your point, Sebastian, where they're literally calling you and like, "Hey, this doesn't make sense. Can we do this, this, and this?" And then you're all of a sudden in a team atmosphere where you're figuring it out. So
Yep.
the last thing I want to say is stability is a lie. I think we've all realized that in our career. Like, don't trade what you want for the lie of a stable paycheck, because, I mean, you said something so important. You're with your family more and still able to pay your bills. Like, you can really turn this into whatever you want. So I appreciate you guys taking some time. I know it's not easy this time of year. So
I appreciate you.
anything else you guys want to add? Awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening. And that's all we got.